On today's show, we have a Jurassic World 3 casting update for you. If you want to keep up with the MCU, apparently Disney Plus is going to be an absolute must. And then the streaming service wars are on, and we have an update on how everyone is doing thus far. I feel like way too much of that rhymed, and it's kind of freaking me out right now. So I'm going to introduce my guests, Jeff Sneider and Drew Taylor. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Good morning.
Doing? Happy Friday.
Good. Yeah.
I just met Drew. I've been reading his stuff for years.
This is also freaking me out.
It's a great day.
True, yeah.
I've just come to assume that anybody who has ever appeared on Movie Talk knows each other. And for you two in particular, just because I've known you both for a while.
I was excited to see the email because it was like, oh.
All right,
yeah,
it's going to be a good time today.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time today. We have some interesting stories to talk about, and the first one is actually a Jeff Sneider exclusive.
Whoa.
Jeff has confirmed that Justice Smith and Daniella Pineda are set to reprise their roles in Jurassic World 3. In case you need a little bit of an update here, a refresher, Smith played Franklin Webb, a former IT guy for Jurassic World who is now the Dinosaur Protection Group's system analyst and go-to hacker, and Pineda played Zia Rodriguez, a former Marine who serves as the group's, I'm not going to pronounce this properly, no I will, paleo veterinarian. There you go.
She's
That's
a
nice
former
easy.
Marine.
Yeah, I seem to have forgot that little
She had a
tidbit,
whole
but
Marine backstory. He got cut. It's on the
Really?
cutting room floor, I'm telling you.
Do you think that, all right, well, do you think that's going to come back into play here? Are we going to actually learn about
No,
her history
I
at all?
have no idea.
When you guys
I
hear...
found that on Wikipedia, to be honest.
Really? I'm surprised. With how many times I've seen Fallen Kingdom, I am surprised that detail
Wait a
isn't more...
second. How many times have you seen Fallen Kingdom?
Quite a few.
Quite a few?
Didn't you watch the
Once
Iron
was
Man
enough
match
for me.
that
I
Cody and I
was-
participated in? We had to know our stuff for that.
That's fair. You did have a trivia match.
But that's the kind of detail that I feel like would have come up in a match like that. So the
Right.
fact that I'm completely unaware
There you
of
go.
it is a
I'm helping you
little
out.
alarming to me. But you guys hear that these two are returning to the franchise. Does it surprise you at all, given how many other people are coming back for more Jurassic?
I mean, you broke this news. Do you know how much of the movie they're going to be in? Do you know anything?
No.
So they could just be walking in through the background.
I mean, I think this is still Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard's franchise at the end of the day. And then, Frosty was the one who had Laura Dern come out at the Collider screening and say that they're all going to have sizable roles. Her, Sam Neill, and Jeff Goldblum. So I don't know how much room is left for Justice Smith and Daniella Pineda. Who knows if Jake Johnson comes back? I would love to see that happen. That may be in the works. It may not be done yet, or maybe it's hit a snag. I don't know.
I wouldn't mind seeing him come back. I'm starting to get that concern over how much screen time any of them have. And I'm also getting a little worried about the idea of, and I do really believe in Colin Trevorrow with this franchise. I think he really does care about it and have the best intentions. I just don't want a scenario where everyone is like, haha, look, we're all together now. We're going to go on an adventure together. I want these two groups to unite for a very legitimate reason. And the only reason I can give these two to return is because they are part of the Dinosaur Protection Group. And if Bryce Dallas Howard is coming back, she has to still be affiliated with that. And I assume these two are. It's just... Then
Perri is nerding out like on a Star Wars level right now.
I'm just trying to figure out with everything that has gone on in the previous films, like, why does Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum say to themselves, like, we must,
what gets them back? I don't know what the storyline is.
We must come back into the Jurassic spotlight and team up with this organization. Because I don't understand how the movie has them all in it unless that's the narrative.
Where do you stand on this franchise?
I'm just sitting here shocked that she's given so much thought to this franchise.
A lot of detail
I
from
mean,
Fallen Kingdom.
Very invested in the Jurassic World, more so than probably anyone else at this point.
I do really love Jurassic World, but
do you
Jurassic
love
Park
the
is
ride?
a classic.
I went on the ride.
Right, okay.
I missed the opening of the ride, but I went on the ride during Halloween Horror Nights, and I was pleasantly surprised. I walked in extremely bitter because, I love like that old school texture of a ride that's been around for a really long time. And personally, I didn't think that ride even needed updated. It's not about the animatronics. It's about the big drop. And the animatronics had that old school charm to it. So I was fine. But Have you been on it?
Yeah.
So one of the coolest parts of that ride is right at the very beginning when you go into the Mosasaurus thing with the tank and just the digital displays all around you. It was done so well. So yeah, I like the ride.
All right.
I think of this Jurassic World 3 as kind of like the Avengers Endgame for this franchise, and they're taking the stars from Jurassic Park and the stars of Jurassic World and the stars of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom now, and that's so they sort of have everybody together. But call me when you get Ariana Richards, because that's who I really want to see back.
Well, Ariana Richards and Joe Mazzello.
Yeah.
Like someone tweeted at me
But
the other day.
specifically Ariana Richards.
I think they both should be. If you're going to bring
Mazzello's still acting. Like I see
Yeah.
him around.
I'm buddies.
She's out of the business.
Should we call Joe right now? I'm buddies with him. We should just get him on the phone.
He's
Okay,
great.
I'll text him.
Make sure he knows that I'm rooting for him to be
Okay,
back
I
in
will,
this movie.
yes.
But now all I can picture is like the old school stars of Jurassic running against like a whole bunch of dinosaurs out in the real world in the field somewhere.
I think it would be cool. I'm just saying, now that we've got Joe Pesci back in The Irishman, I think the next person we get to get out of retirement is Ariana Richards.
I really never thought that we. Oh God,
This seat goes too far back. Who am I? Dad, I got to talk to you about this.
I don't even know if the camera was on you when that happened, but that was wildly amusing.
It happened last week during Rumor
Yeah,
Mill, too.
do not lean far
like
back.
this
You
chair.
have been warned, Drew.
I
Don't do
won't.
it.
I'm on my best behavior.
All right. One more question I have for you guys about Jurassic World 3.
Really?
Because, well, I like talking about...
I like this guy.
I like talking about box office.
Yes, yeah.
And 2021 is a long ways away, but given the narrative that's kind of been constructed in the news right now and the buzz level for another Jurassic World film, do you see this one having even a bigger gross than the last two? Because this isn't necessarily a franchise that has had super diminishing returns, but the second one wasn't as hot as the first one, so we always
Wasn't
have
the first
to
one
ask.
like the biggest movie of all time or something?
First one was freaking
It's the
huge.
sixth highest grossing
Yeah.
movie of all time,
Wow.
according to my story.
Wow.
So do you think that Jurassic World 3 is going to top Fallen Kingdom, or do you think we're just going to see it dip a little bit?
Well, how many
again?
tickets are you going to buy? That's really the question. I think you could put it. You could put it over the top.
There's no doubt I will probably see it twice during opening weekend, and then I'm going to wind up going back
Wow.
again. This and Scream, they're
This
my
is her thing.
franchises.
Yeah.
You know what? I respect
Speaking
it.
Yeah.
of which, I'm
There are worse
challenging you,
things.
Jeff, one day to an Iron Man Scream match. I really
I'm-
want that to happen.
I'm down to make it
We
happen.
have to make it happen too before
Does it
this
have to be the
Scream
whole
5 comes
franchise,
out.
though?
Yes,
I
it
just
does.
don't want to keep watching some of those.
Which are wait. Now I'm curious. Tell me which are your favorites.
I mean, 1 and 2, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have no soft
four
spot
is-
for 3?
No, it's 3's okay. Before I can't.
3
do.
was so compromised. I was reading about 3 recently and about all the post Columbine. They had to they wanted to take out all the violence. That's why it's set in Hollywood.
off.
Yeah.
Well, 3 just has a very different vibe.
Yeah.
Than
Jay and
the
Silent Bob
first
are in
two.
3. Let's just remember that.
I quite like 4 though, but we have to have this match before Scream 5 comes out because I am extremely nervous about what they're going to do with that franchise.
I know. I watched that
was-
episode. You were on the edge of your seat.
Where do you guys stand on that? Do you want a reboot or do you want a continuation with the familiar characters?
Reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we're all on the same page
definitely
with that.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
All right. Let's get into.
Watching these movies since I was 12 years old.
Please don't mess it up. Please don't mess it up. Story number 2 here. Your favorite topic, Jeff, MCU stuff. So there is some interesting information out there, specifically some quotes from Kevin Feige that basically tell you that in order to be, an MCU completist, but also to get the full impact of the storyline that they're developing right now, Disney Plus isn't an optional thing. It's an absolute must. Here is the quote that he gave Bloomberg. If you want to understand everything in future Marvel movies, he says, you'll probably need a Disney Plus subscription because events from the new shows will factor into forthcoming films, such as Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The Scarlet Witch will be a key character in that movie, and Feige points out that the Loki series will tie in too. He says, I'm not sure we've actually acknowledged that before, but it does. What do you guys make of this when you hear it? Because it's like, I was going to sign up for Disney Plus no matter what.
You haven't signed up yet?
Well, I have.
Okay.
I had to get the
Yeah,
founders. The founders
You got your
deal.
pen, yeah.
But the point is, I was going to sign up no matter what. I'm going to watch these shows no matter what. But something feels like a little bit of a thorn in my side that this narrative that they've basically put together here is that if you want to keep up with these MCU movies that cost a pretty penny to see on the big screen, now you're also obligated to pay a streaming service subscription.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Marvel has done a pretty good job so far in sort of keeping people up to date without necessarily having seen all the movies. Like, I'm not sure how many people actually saw Dark World before, Endgame. So I think you'll be able to watch them, I think. But also, there was some study recently that like 2 out of 3 like moviegoers is going to be signing up for Disney Plus. I mean, I know we're talking about streaming later, but I don't think it's going to be a problem for a lot of people. Also, they're so short that I feel like it's not like a 22 episode commitment that you can watch these 6 episodes in a weekend and kind of get caught up if you need to.
That's the big difference between what they're doing now and, let's say, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. If you felt the pressure at the very beginning to watch all of that.
Which no one did, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin says if you want to understand everything in future Marvel movies, I mean, do I want to understand everything? Even with it, like, do I understand everything anyways?
Right.
So I don't know that it's a must. I think that people will be able to understand what's going on in the Marvel movie without seeing some of these series. The series sound interesting, and they sound like they're taking actual creative risks that the movies... I'm not saying that the movies don't take creative risks, but, like WandaVision sounds particularly, like, out there. Like, I don't think that they would ever do, like, a movie like WandaVision. So, if they can experiment more on Disney Plus, then I'm all for it.
I'm very much looking forward to WandaVision. I think that might be one of my most anticipated of all the shows that they've announced right now for that exact reason. I just have a feeling, because you mentioned Thor: The Dark World, and that at this point was early MCU. It just feels like the more movies they release, the more they tie in, to the point that Ant-Man and the Wasp had a button at the end that was very important to the beginning of Endgame. And also, when you start to go more cosmic, like the Eternals, that's a whole new world in the MCU that fans are not really aware of. So if any of those elements come up in the show and go back and forth, I don't know, I just feel like we're entering a time where the MCU is kind of telling me that if you don't know everything, you're not going to get the full experience.
Right. But you can still get a experience.
Yeah, you can.
Right?
You can.
You don't have to have the like compendium version. Because, I mean, I'm sure there's like people who have read every comic book issue and they'll say, oh, you don't get it unless you do that. I don't know. It could be something like that.
To me, this is just marketing for Disney Plus, isn't it? Like he kind of has to say that the same way, when Sony like releases the Tarantino movie, re-releases it, and they're like, oh, this is cool must-see footage, and it's just like a bunch of fluff. Like you don't really need to see it. It's going to be on the Blu-ray anyways. I feel like the people who maybe miss out on these series, they would be able to find out somehow the important things that they missed in going into the next movie.
Mm-hmm. Because you brought up, what did you say, 2 of 3 moviegoers?
Yeah, I saw some crazy stat that like 2 out of every 3 moviegoers is going to sign up for Disney Plus.
That stat is absolutely insane.
Oh, it's nuts.
Me. And I mean, it kind of gives me an answer to this question that I had been thinking about. And it's just because, like, we've talked before about, superhero fatigue and Marvel fatigue. Eventually, maybe you've had enough. And I am wondering if the more they release both on the big screen, which the slate is getting bigger, and also on Disney Plus, if that's going to happen, to the point that if people feel obligated not just to see, let's say, 4 Marvel movies on the big screen, but then also to keep up with all these series, are we going to be in a situation where people just throw their hands up and say, like, I can't do it, enough?
Yeah, maybe.
There's a finite amount of time in the day. I mean, I think that part of the success of the Marvel movies is having that build up in between films that, a couple months go by and you want your superhero fix again. This is going to sort of fill those gaps, all these different shows, and maybe it actually hurts the MCU box office possibly. I don't know.
It's funny, as much as I really do love the MCU quite a bit, but I don't think I have that lull in between movies anymore because there's so much other content out there right now. Mm-hmm. And it's not even just new content. There's so much stuff that I'm catching up on right now. I was telling you guys before, I'm super into Succession right now. I'm glad there's not yet another movie out there that's taking my attention away from that because I'm enjoying it. So
if there was another Jurassic World movie out right now, your Succession viewing would be...
All I want right now I love how we're going back to Jurassic. I want them to do so many more Battle at Big Rock shorts.
You'll
that's
be able
what
to get
I want.
on Peacock.
That could be the tipping point for me with Peacock. I might sign up if they guaranteed more Jurassic shorts. There's just too much.
Wow.
There's too much out there right now. Speaking of having too much to watch, we're about to tell you about something really cool that you could own right now. So I recently had the chance to visit the Warner Brothers lot to learn about a brand new restoration of Wizard of Oz. Here's a sneak peek of my trip there.
We have 6 cold vaults here in this building where we store our original film elements, everything post 1951, because Kodak and other film manufacturers in 1951 stopped making nitrate film, which is very explosive or combustible. For instance, The Wizard of Oz is on nitrate film, but that's stored at the George Eastman House. But here are our crown jewels, our actual film elements in our cold vaults. And if you thought you were warm, you're not going to be in a second. So like I said, it's 35 degrees temperature, 25% humidity, earthquake resistant. There's very, very little paper in this facility. It's plastic because fire is the nemesis, obviously. But if there was a fire, for unknown reasons there could be, there's a halon system that will literally in 60 seconds take all the oxygen out of the building because the film's more important than us.
Because Warner Brothers has 20 million film assets around the planet, all of the original cut negatives are barcoded and also cataloged so any one piece of film can be located.
So I'm holding the original negative of Superman the movie, and now I'm out. You guys saw the Final Destination reel in there, right? I think that was one of the highlights of my day that day, but also this is just a really amazing restoration of Wizard of Oz. I think we have a side-by-side we could show you so you can get a sense of if you buy this version of the film. I mean, look at the difference there. A lot of people on this tour were talking about how you could see, variations in the makeup and the costume work that you've never been able to see before, and that is exactly what we witnessed on this trip. And there is so much more to the video, so if you want to learn more about this process in Technicolor film, the full video is going to be live on Collider Video and also Collider.com, so you can give it a watch over there. Also, big shout out to Remsen, who edited that video and did incredible work. All right, let's go into story number 3 right now. We're going to give you a little update on the streaming wars right now, especially given the fact that Disney Plus is now just days away. But 2 other little bits of information that we want to point out here is, according to Variety, Apple's new shows for Apple TV Plus generated fairly modest levels of demand. And then also in Netflix news, Samsung had just announced that due to technical limitations, Netflix will no longer be supported on 2010 and 2011 TVs beginning on December 1st, 2019. So I think the Netflix thing might be a smaller issue than what we're looking at right now with Apple TV Plus. But if you look at the original report for that, there is this devastating looking chart on that site that basically shows that, almost none of the Apple TV series that launched generated much interest. I think the only one that made it into the top 20 on that chart is C with Jason Momoa. So you guys read that early report. What do you think? Is it too quickly to say doom and gloom for Apple TV Plus?
I'm just shocked they launched this thing with 6 shows and that's it. It just seems it's sort of ill-advised from the get-go.
You had to launch it early, though. You had to get out in front of Disney Plus, even though you only had a handful of shows ready to go, and it probably would have been best to wait for the Spielberg show, because that's not on the service, right? Amazing Stories
isn't up yet. No.
Yeah. I would have launched around Spielberg, but I understand wanting to get subscribers on the hook before all these streaming services start to come out.
I get it, but why bother doing that without much fanfare? I wonder how many people out there are even aware that this service is available, because I was telling you guys before, and my mom is probably watching, she was very into watching Morning Show, and she hasn't yet. If you go into it with urgency to watch something and you're not aware that something is launched to watch it, then why bother to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, the service is essentially free for most people, right? Because they're kind of giving it away with phones and watches and whatever. So, I mean, I don't know what their internal metrics are that had to be met, but...
And I heard that the people who bought iPads and things like that within the last year or two, it had it automatically signed up.
Oh.
So like they woke up to in their iPad that they've only had for a year because their information is recent or whatever. Yeah, they got the free year too.
So do you think this is kind of just like early day, shakiness here, especially when you think of the fact that Apple is really one of the only streaming services with tech to pair it with? I mean, could we see a time in the next couple of months or years where, because we all own Apple products, these alerts actually start working and we start prioritizing what we're being alerted to versus, let's say, Netflix, which doesn't have certain Samsung TVs anymore?
I'll tell you another thing I didn't like about the launch, the date. Because when you think about how many people are just hung over the day after Halloween, like you don't even know what day it is. Like forgetting, like you don't remember what streaming service is launching that afternoon. I did not like the day after Halloween launch.
All right, no, that's fair. I mean, there's something about starting fresh on a new month that has appealed to me, but I mean, like it didn't really matter if it was the day after Halloween. It's like we know November 12th.
Right.
Like who knew November 1st for Apple TV Plus?
Nobody. And the fact I was bitching about this before, but that it's not on PS4 and it's not on Xbox. Mm-hmm. So it's like, is that audience just something that they don't want? I mean, C seems to me like a kind of sci-fi post-apocalyptic thing that the same kids that are playing video games are going to want to watch.
Well, I do wonder if that's kind of the next wave of the streaming wars is, we were just talking about how Apple's a company with hardware. What if we do see, Netflix and Disney aligning with certain products like that and only being available on a certain thing,
right.
which is kind of scary to me because it limits you to one type of content depending on what you own.
I would not count Apple out at all. I think it's just, early days. Think about where Netflix was back in the day with that Eli Roth show. Remember that one?
What was that? Oh, Hemlock Grove.
Yeah.
I watched that show.
I bet you did. So,
I'm not saying I liked it all,
the early Netflix days were rocky as well. Apple is run by two veteran executives from Sony TV who launched shows like Breaking Bad. I think that they will eventually get the hang of it. And if they don't, if Apple's like, listen, this isn't working, all they have to do is go like this, and they've bought Netflix.
I think that's the difference with the early days of Netflix, because like back in the early days of Netflix, they were also just like a gigantic library. And were they still sending DVD? They still send DVDs now,
do,
right?
Yeah.
But it's like, was that still a big part of the service back when? What was Hemlock Grove? 2011.
13 maybe.
Well, what's interesting about the discs is that it's still it still props up the bottom line for Netflix. It makes like $500 million a year or something. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, think about all the places that have, crummy Wi-Fi or, stuff like
People
that.
still have DVD players.
Yeah.
That's semi-true.
But the thing
mine's
with Apple,
not plugged in anymore, but I still have one.
I have mine for emergencies.
But
I
Apple
don't even want to know what these emergencies are.
No, you don't.
Apple has no library, right? They have no catalog, right? So that's
which is why there's speculation that they may acquire a studio or a rival.
I thought they would have gotten Paramount if Paramount and Viacom hadn't merged fully.
Of all the studios still standing, what do you think the one that they could go for or should go for is?
I mean, A24 is already making movies for Apple, and so there was speculation back then when that deal was announced that Apple was going to acquire A24 outright.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, that would definitely create more urgency for me to pay attention to Apple TV Plus. I think what I'm most afraid of for Apple TV Plus's sake, and Apple is still a major company, they are going to be fine no matter what happens with the streaming service, but the fact that it was such a soft launch. I'm not just talking about interest, but how little there was there, because like now it's almost like, I feel like you either have to start like super hot and super big, or it's like an even steeper climb to the top, because now, even though they did launch first, now Disney Plus is coming, and it doesn't even matter what they did because Disney Plus is coming with so much content that they're still going to have to battle it anyway.
As soon as The Mandalorian arrives, whatever show you're watching on Apple, that's going to get put on the back burner probably.
Do any of these shows on Apple TV Plus right now catch your eye at all?
I thought that For Mankind sounded fun, and then the reviews came out, and it was like, ooh, okay.
I can't even remember what that was.
It's the Russians get to the moon first show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The morning show sounded interesting. Like I might actually watch that in time, but I'm not in a rush to see any of the others.
Can we get your mom on the show to talk about morning show? Is she going to watch it?
She would in a heartbeat. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she will watch it.
Okay.
Usually holiday time is our binge watching time. And you know what we binge every single Christmas now?
What?
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Wow.
It's seriously,
That's
it's a
the
pri-
new Christmas tradition in Europe? That's amazing.
How many episodes are there? That sounds like a lot of time.
We burned through it.
I was like,
there's not much to do.
What has this been, like the last 2 years?
We're also Jews on Christmas. We're not doing anything. We're just sitting in the house.
You're going to the movies and having Chinese food like everybody else.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we do that also. We watch.
You're telling me you're binging a whole series?
My family watches a lot of content.
Damn.
See, that's the thing. My family watches a lot of content across the board, and we all have different interests. So the fact that I'm still freaked out that like none of us really know what to do with all the stuff coming at us, like it almost feels like we have a wealth of content right now and it's all going to suffer because it's all just being like thrown out and spread around.
Yeah, and it burns out very quickly too, right? Like people talked about Stranger Things 3, which I thought was great for like 2 days, and then the conversation was kind of over.
That's the thing with when you drop all your series at once, which is why they're not doing that, right? Apple TV or is it
Disney Plus isn't doing it either.
Right, yeah.
Apple TV is week to week, right?
Yeah.
Because that hit, it's gone in a weekend.
We're
getting 2 Mandalorian episodes the first week though. So.
I'm very much looking
That's
forward
like
to that.
the Hulu model.
This
Hulu
is
used to launch with
a
2
very
two
random
episodes.
question, but like, do you think that the binge watch model is going to limit the amount of TV shows we wind up calling classics down the line? Like that, just
Yes, because
that
it's
quick
such a fractured
forgettability.
space. Not everybody will be able to like get behind like one show.
Yeah, I've never really thought about that before, but you know, like we're starting to talk about, you know, end of the decade material, and you know, when you talk about the best TV shows of the decade, like there's an endless list. There's like an endless list, and you know, some like, you know, maybe like Game of Thrones level event watching have a big group behind it, but most of them have very small camps of people that are super hyped on a specific thing.
So now you guys are just all fighting, all the editors at Collider are fighting for their show? Okay.
I think we're going to spread the love
Okay,
as much
good,
as possible.
I wasn't even invited to participate.
Wow.
I hope so. I don't know. There's so many features in the works, and you should be keeping an eye out for all of it. You know what else you should keep an eye out for? Collider.com has so many utility pieces. And again, we were talking about how much content there is out there right now. And if you're confused about it, you don't know what's available on launch, seriously, just scroll through their feed right now, because I know for a fact they've got a great Disney Plus article that covers literally every single title, TV and film, that is going to be available when the service launches on November 12th. I know that date. I don't know some of the others. All right. We wanted to save a lot of time today for live chat questions. And
We sure did.
guess what? I didn't screen a single one of these. And I'm just going to run through the list right now. And
These
we're going
could
to try.
be prank tweeters.
I've already been there, thanks, Dorian. We're just going to go through this and try to get some new names in the mix right now. Actually, this is a point we probably should have brought up earlier. So one of the first things I see here is David Cooper saying, so screw moviegoers outside of the U.S. I'm not sure if what that specifically pertains to for certain, but I know they did just announce that Disney Plus isn't coming to certain territories like the UK until March of 2020.
Correct.
So like, why do you think that's the case? And could that become a problem with, I don't know, spoilers or people just signing up without any
Or
urgency?
illegal downloads of things. Yeah. I mean, I think that the rights and license issues are just as complicated in Europe as they are here. And they just kind of cleared those out earlier here. I don't know if you saw that story about there being a Stars ad on Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah.
When you log in, because they had to clear the licenses for, I think, Star Wars. So you're going to see that ad. So I'm sure there are complications like that.
I'm sorry.
overseas.
Can you re-explain why we see that ad?
Because Starz still had the license for the new Star Wars movies.
Right.
Interesting.
So to get them on the service, they had to provide. It was a, as we like to say, quid pro quo. Been thrown around a lot. Yeah. So yeah. So I don't know what the license issues were. There was also sort of a Disney Plus style subscription already in the UK called Disney Life that included books and music that I'm sure they had to clear out that too. So.
Well, I want Audible to go to one of these companies.
Right.
Like I want Audible to be part of a streaming service that I already pay for, and then I'd be set. Any concern about the service launching late in certain territories?
Nope, I don't live there.
Whoa,
not cool.
Sorry.
Admittedly, I do feel for people who, let's say, really want to watch The Mandalorian and are going to have to sit through months of us talking about it.
Yeah, but they have free healthcare. They're fine. You know, that's the trade-off.
I know.
My heart
It's
goes out to you people who can't watch The Mandalorian.
minimal
next week.
problems
Right,
compared to
right.
other things we're dealing with. But yeah, I think the only thing that I could tell you, David, if this is what your question was even about, is, just be mindful. There's no doubt there's going to be a lot of Mandalorian content on the internet. A lot of it is going to have spoilers in it. So try to just wait and don't click on anything. All right. This next one from Matt Stoker. In light of the negative response to the CGI James Dean news from high-profile actors, do you think this blowback will have any negative effect on making films with deceased actors? Do you think this is going to be a thing even?
I do think it's going to be the thing. I think it's kind of the future, which is messed up. First of all, I think that when these celebrities do pass, then their estates, control their image.
Yeah.
These estates are craven. I mean, they've been used to living in this lavish lifestyle afforded by, whoever the celebrity was. Now that that person's not around, they're going to sell out the person's image for sure. Mm-hmm. That's going to happen in a lot of cases. And but it's different when it's James Dean in some random movie and it's the guy in Star Wars who they brought back.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the name.
Yes, Peter Cushing.
Yeah, like that's a different kind of thing to me.
So this is my Succession brain kicking in right now. I think we actually need a series, like a behind the scenes look at an estate, like navigating this new element of the industry. I would be fascinated to see that. And just like
That would be great.
The people leading the estate and whether or not to, commit to movies and shows like this.
Does anyone remember that Tales from the Crypt episode where they brought back Humphrey Bogart? It was a Robert Zemeckis directed episode.
Now I have to look at
Yeah,
that.
it's really interesting. Yeah, but that was the first time I remember this happening. And didn't Fred Astaire dance with a vacuum or something in a commercial back in the
I
90s?
think
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Especially with like Dr. Sleep fresh on my brain right now.
Which has no digital creations. Yeah.
I don't understand why more don't go that route. I think the technology worked well in The Irishman, where you are taking a living actor who is playing one particular character like for an extent of their life and de-aging them. But the idea of bringing back someone who is long gone and essentially changing their craft is extremely alarming to me.
Right, and not allowing that person to sort of sign off on what it is that they're doing.
Because I brought this up when we talked about it originally, but it could change their legacy. That's what bothers me. Mm-hmm. It's like, we know James Dean's original work, but what about someone who is like, let's say, born today, and the first thing they see of James Dean is this digital recreation of an iconic actor?
That movie sucked. He sucks. James Dean sucks.
How terrible would that be?
I mean, the Collider George Lucas videos are pretty funny. But
Yeah,
they're very controversial, though.
Controversial,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Very funny. And Frank, our wonderful editor, worked so hard on those. So job well done, Frank, as well. We have the best editing team here. The best editors, the best
listen,
switchers. Adam in the booth. Early shout out for you right now because you rock. Did you want to add something?
No. Just that they rock.
Yes, thank you for reiterating that.
guys are all right.
All right. Let's go to another question here. Oh, I got very confused. Dorian's deleting these as I read them. Thank you. Luke Nelson says, what are your favorite performances of the year? For me, nothing comes close to Lupita in Us. Luke, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I wish she would get a nomination this year, and I just have a bad feeling it's not happening.
Yeah, I love that performance. That's an amazing
I'll
performance.
let you go first, Drew.
No, you're putting me on the spot there.
I can predict yours.
What?
Because I think I share it.
Yeah.
You're going to say Jessie Buckley.
Jesse Buckley and Wild Rose is terrific. Actually, oh my God, I have a name for you. Hold
Okay.
on.
All right. Now,
What
now you
about
have to go.
Willem
Because I
Dafoe
watched it
in The
again
Lighthouse?
last night.
Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson in The Lighthouse. It's like I can't believe there are any Robert Pattinson doubters out there
Yeah.
at this point because he is just incredible.
Yeah, I hated High Life,
So,
but did you ever see it?
yeah, no, I hated
I
it.
can't.
I hate it.
I can't see High Life for a very specific reason, right?
Is there a dog?
There's a dog thing in it, right?
Okay. I don't remember. Yeah, okay.
I remember when it played at TIFF, someone warned me about that.
okay.
I'm like, all right, I'm just going to skip that screening.
Okay, I rewatched last night, which is a tough movie to rewatch, The Nightingale.
Oh,
The Nightingale might be a masterpiece. The Nightingale is one of the
Yeah.
best movies of the year, and Aisling Franciosi and Bekali Ganambar are so good. It's like criminal the way that nobody's talking about these two performances.
It's criminal, and I think the reason why, and I'm not saying this makes it any less of a masterpiece because I think it is freaking phenomenal. The fact that it's such a difficult watch, because I saw it once and I don't need to watch it again. I don't want to watch it again, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I am in awe of the craftsmanship and the talent on display in that movie.
Yeah.
And
I haven't watched it yet. I'm waiting for my Shout Factory Blu-ray.
Wow.
But yeah,
I didn't expect that to be the reason.
yeah.
I thought Renee Zellweger and Adam
Yeah.
Driver, who are sort of like the Oscar frontrunners, and Joaquin, all three of them were amazing.
I'm always going to say Kelvin Harrison Jr.'s name. I think he needs more attention than he's getting, and I'm a little bummed
Calvin
right now.
Who is this?
Kelvin Harrison Jr. He was in
Loose.
the first time I ever saw him was in It Comes at Night, and now this year he has Loose and also Waves.
Oh wow,
Both
two movies
of
I have not
which
watched yet.
He's excellent in both of those, and Waves is one in particular where I feel like it's flying a little too far under the radar to actually make any noise at the Academy
it's
Awards.
coming out soon. I think
it's
See
right
it Monday night.
I think it's right around the corner now, but I feel like that's a movie that deserves nominations, and it might not get them.
What about Brad Pitt? Two of his best ever performances this year.
He's definitely going to get the recognition he deserves.
I hope so.
I definitely believe that's going to happen.
And
at this
I
point.
really liked Shia and Zach Gottskagen in the Peanut Butter
Yes.
Falcon. They were terrific.
Peanut Butter Falcon is a movie I could watch over and over and over again. Yep. I was overjoyed every single time that commercial came on TV because they always went with that line, like, what are we going to do? Like, party? And every single time he says it, I just freaking
Did you see
smile.
the Aeronauts yet?
No.
Don't write off the Aeronauts.
Really?
The Aeronauts I enjoy.
Because I did at TIFF. I heard middling things, and the Aeronauts screened at the very end of the festival when I was just desperate to fill whatever time I had left with, high priority stuff, and I bumped it off the
Jones
list.
is quite good and
All right.
quite different than we typically see Felicity Jones.
I
in
have
that
another
movie.
question about the Aeronauts. What if I can't see it on the big screen?
Yeah, that is a movie to see on the big screen.
I
It
had a
Does
really
it have a
feeling.
is.
limited? I think it has a limited IMAX run. Too.
No,
or did
they
that get
canceled
canceled?
it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
they
That's why I'm a little concerned about that one.
Yeah, the windows for the Amazon movies are very brief this fall.
Maybe I should actually sign up for a screening of that, which I have yet to do. I am seeing Uncut Gems very soon. I'm very excited about that. This next question from NK Songbird is 2 years ago when Okja and the Meyerowitz stories premiered at Cannes, there were quotes calling Netflix isn't cinema. Do you think the general sentiment has changed?
Yes, I mean the Netflix is cinema. It's no
Yeah.
it's no different than the movies that we
I
see
think
in the
there's
theater.
always going to be people who say it's not, who say like if it's not on the big screen, it's not
It's
the
TV
same.
or
But
something, yeah.
I think it's part of cinema.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're gonna.
What makes something cinema? Getting a theatrical release, like these Netflix movies, we see most of them on the big screen, right? The voters see them on the big screen,
Mm-hmm.
so it's really no different than any other movie. It's different maybe for people who don't get a chance to see these movies in theaters, but
It's also it's a story being told in the feature film format. That's a movie. I mean, I think there's a big difference between talking about the definition of cinema, which I think there is no firm definition of anyway, and someone's personal taste. I think that's the biggest disparity we see right now. Here's a question from Alex Dom. I am hungry, so What movie food would you like to try? I would love to try some of the Spirited Away food. Like food featured in movies.
Movie food. Yeah. I mean, I guess you can have a slushie at Universal Studios.
You can.
From The Simpsons. Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pizza. Like the cartoon
With
version.
the really stringy cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to say, doesn't Kevin McAllister make himself mac and cheese at the end of Home Alone?
He makes himself like the perfect dinner and then just has to leave it there.
Yeah, I think I would like to have eaten that mac and cheese that he left there.
I would still go for his very own cheese pizza. I really like pizza, and there's no pizza in LA.
Are you a Ninja Turtle?
I freaking love Ninja Turtles.
Me too.
My sister had all the Barbies,
Yeah.
and I had all the Ninja
Wait,
Turtles
what turtle
and
were you?
Jurassic Park figures.
Who was your favorite turtle?
Orange is my favorite color, so I always really liked Michelangelo, but I am more of a Donatello.
Yeah, Donatello.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad we cleared that
We're
up. That was
NYU
important.
peeps.
That was important information there. All right. Where are we now? Matt Stoker is next. I just did a double feature of Jojo Rabbit and Parasite this week. What will your go-to double feature for this year be so far? Double feature.
2 movies that came out this year.
2 movies that came out this year.
Because I really am
that you
looking
wanna
forward
see
to
back to
watching
back.
Bad Times at the El Royale and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That to me feels like a great double
Bad Times
feature.
at the El Royale was one of the best movies of last year, and it didn't get nearly enough credit.
I concur.
You
Wow.
feel differently.
No, well, I do feel differently. But wait, so that was the answer.
Well, that was
Bad
my
Times
Bad
Once
Times
Upon a Time?
and Once Upon a Time.
Okay.
Same setting, but 2
No,
cult
yeah.
leaders. You know,
That's-
there's a lot.
I'm trying to come up with like just the best sort of combination, and I can't really.
I don't know. The first thing that came to my mind, and it's only because we've already said these titles on the show, is doing a Neon double feature, or actually doing a Neon triple feature and watching back to back to back Wild Rose, Loose, and Parasite.
Okay.
I don't know. I also think that gives you like a really great view of what Neon is capable of, and the fact that they are picking up some like high quality, super different films.
Don't you think that Us and Parasite would make a great double feature?
Yes,
That it would.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
All right, my double feature. I'm gonna go with a weird one. I'm gonna go Jojo Rabbit and Toy Story 4.
Is there a reason?
I feel like Jojo Rabbit. No, there is no reason. They're both important kids movies, but one isn't for kids.
I mean,
Or is it?
in a sense, it's semi-exploring stuff from a kid's point of view between like the view of Hitler from a child's perspective and like
Toy Story 4 is so
toys
much from
coming to
the
life.
toy point of view.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's still kind of toys coming to life. I don't know. I'm trying to help you out here. It's not working.
I think it's young kids see these movies, but they're adult stories, and I don't know. That's my double feature. I don't need to explain it any further.
All right, going down the list here to Wrecker R. We know what you like to eat at the theater. What do you like to eat and or drink while watching a movie at home? What you got?
I don't like do movie snacks at home, really. Occasionally popcorn, but
I don't think I really do either.
yeah.
But I also don't really ever eat food in the theater either.
Really?
He's too
Even when they give you the
skinny.
free concessions
No,
thing?
I get distracted.
Free concessions are gross.
Well, yeah, that a little bit, but I get I just find it distracting to have food while I'm watching a movie. I just want to be locked into the movie. But then
Interesting.
I also won't drink anything because I'm terrified of having to get up and use the restroom and missing
Guys,
some of the movie.
this is someone who ran a marathon over the weekend. Okay,
Yes.
let me talk to the average common person. I went to Ford versus Ferrari this week. 2.5 hour movie. I made sure I had my nachos. I made sure I had my salted pretzel bites, and I made sure I had my vanilla root beer.
All the
Wow.
food groups.
And that's why this T-shirt's so tight on me.
Okay, wait, I have a good follow-up question to this. Jonathan Caro is saying, Perry will like this one. If you were to run in a marathon, 5K, 1K, etc., in a movie setting, where would it be? For example, the Shire 5K, like as in Lord of the Rings. I'll run, actually, here, I got the perfect answer. I'm going to run through Jurassic Park because later this month, they're actually doing a Jurassic World 10K, I believe it is, in Universal.
Are you doing it?
Yeah, I am.
Oh.
I'm going with Donato.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we're going to run a race. You seem
I'm
so
glad.
thrilled.
I'm glad. No, that's
Do you want to come join?
no. I don't. I don't.
I had a feeling that was the answer.
can
That's why-
root- I can
that's
root
why I
for
didn't
you.
ask.
Wait, what's
Where
your
you-
answer?
Oh, what land or whatever? What
Yeah.
cinematic?
Movie.
Oh God, I don't know. What do
Camp
you have an
Crystal
answer?
Lake.
I have so many.
Really?
Oh.
I'd want to run like through the maze in The Shining. That would be interesting.
But isn't that like kind of running nowhere?
Oh, so what?
I don't
It
know.
still counts. Maybe chariots of.
It's gotta work off
Chariots
those
of
pretzel
Fire,
bites.
Okay.
Running on the beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a couple. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of
I like to run across Alcatraz in the rock, and then at the very end of the race, right as I cross the finish line, I get down on my knees and I do the Nick Cage.
I'd like to see
your
that.
dream come true right
Yeah,
there.
that's my dream
Is that what you're going for? Steve Calderon wants to know, how do you feel about another Paranormal Activity movie coming in March 2021? Have they? Is this a reboot, or is this connected to the mythology established in the
I
previous
mean,
films?
they've kind of been rebooting themselves along the way.
Have they really?
Well, there was that one where they kind of went back into the other movies and things.
Marked Ones.
Marked Ones
Marked
did
Ones
that
was
one.
the spin-off, but it still is connected.
Yes, and then the one where you saw the ghosts for the
Ghost
first
Dimension?
time. Ghost Dimension had some kind of.
I saw Ghost Dimension once and
I've
never
seen
again.
every single Blumhouse horror movie, so I have to see. I think
Every
including
single-
including every episode of In the Dark or Into the Dark
I
or
have
whatever.
to catch up on some of
Yeah,
those.
so I think I've seen
That's
like close to
commitment.
90
What's
Blumhouse.
the most obscure Blumhouse movie that
Oh
someone
God,
might not think of?
there's like one called Totem that few people have seen. There's one called
Totem.
7 in Heaven that's about
Yeah.
that's the 7 minutes in heaven thing, but you get into another dimension where everybody's like getting killed, and yeah, so I have to see. I mean,
One
Paranormal
called
Activity-
Mercy, right?
Mercy is one. Yeah,
Oh, I
that's maybe
remember
one of
that
the
one.
worst ones I've ever seen. Yeah.
Who's in Mercy again?
Mercy has Jay Duplass is in it, or Mark Duplass is in it, and it's based on a Stephen King story, and it is abominable. It's
Okay.
terrible. Yeah.
I'm not putting that one on the
No,
list anytime
no.
soon. Do either you care about another paranormal movie?
No, I'm out on this franchise. I used to work for Blumhouse, for Jason Blum, when Paranormal Activity was but a DVD on the shelf that I was not allowed to touch. I think I liked the first Paranormal Activity. I thought the second one was okay too, but they just got progressively worse.
Yeah.
and
3
I'm
is
out.
really good. The one that's set in the 80s.
1, 2, and
Yeah.
3 are great, and I also think the Marked Ones is one
It's
that
cool.
I thought it was very, very well
Yeah,
done.
me
But
too.
then after that,
Is that with the Latino cast?
Yes.
That one was okay. Yeah, but I think I gave up after.
the most recent ones
Last
are
two were bad.
not. They're garbage films. They're terrible.
Well, they could do another format too. Like it doesn't have to be
That's
security camera.
something I would be
Right.
interested
Yeah.
in. It's like it's been 2009, so it's been 10 years since that first movie came out. I like that format. I thought it was genius at the time, but find that next genius idea.
You're right. The title and the brand is valuable, but they got to move on from what those movies are and maybe
Yeah.
put some money into them.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in 2021. All right. This question is dangerous, but it's Friday. Let's have fun. Justin Rosk wants to know, in the spirit of drunk holidays, Collider Videos, what is your favorite intoxication scene or plot in a movie, drunk or otherwise?
Well, there's the Wolf of Wall Street scene. It's like
My
that's
God.
like the Citizen Kane of
The
like,
physicality of that
Yeah.
performance in that moment is just, it's so good.
Yeah.
I just like, I guess, all the drinking in Dazed and Confused.
Oh, I love that movie.
Just everything about beer. Like when he throws the beer, he gets the beer out of the trunk and he throws it to him. He's like, what are you wasting a beer on that guy? And then at the end, when they're trying, like the beer is tapped and everything, it's just everything with beer in that movie is great.
That movie definitely prepared me for young partying. I watched
Perri
that.
was at all the parties being like, all right. What I like about them high school boys
What else
is-
do you do at parties? I feel like there's more of those like the high school party movies that I'm not thinking about right
Yeah,
now.
Project
Because it's like
X
I think about like Can't Hardly Wait, but I don't really remember like other than what's his face getting
Charlie
super
Korsmo gets
wasted.
wasted, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He gets wasted, but that's not the type of thing where I'm like relive that scene, you know?
16 Candles
Like
has a lot
karaoke's
of
epic.
extreme partying.
this isn't necessarily intoxication, but going back to Scream, Tatum's death, carrying all the beers. So
That's right. Yep. And she starts throwing the beers.
I won a signed Scream 4 poster because Wes Craven at the time was doing all these trivia questions to give away some stuff before the movie came out. And one of his questions was, how many beers is she holding when that happens? And it's 5.
Ooh.
And I won.
The fact that he
That's good. I may not want the part of the Scream trivia match, Drew.
That came from no
I'll
studying.
be the judge, and I'll be wearing
keeping my fingers crossed.
Wow.
And trying to estimate.
I can't believe he was in his waning days was doing Scream trivia before his screening. That depresses me.
No, that actually makes me really happy because I think that he cared about that franchise and what he was doing so much. And I also really think he was very passionate about fan engagement. That felt so wholehearted to me. And watching him go back and forth, like further communicating with fans, I thought that was a great thing.
Remember those Last House on the Left trivia games?
Yeah, I was gonna say my soul to take. Yeah.
No. Yeah. My soul to take. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to end on a negative note. All right. Do you guys want another food question? Let's do one more food question, and then we'll say goodbye. Matt Stoker says, what is the best film to bring together your family after an intense Thanksgiving dinner? Why does it have to be intense? It's going to be nice.
Not everyone has your nice family. Let's just be honest. We're not all sitting around the campfire watching Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
That is what we're doing. Yeah. Actually, probably what we're doing after Thanksgiving dinners, we're probably all sitting around the TV and watching a Final Destination movie. That's probably the truth of the matter.
Your mother watches that?
My family loves horror. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's like if I could think about certain franchises where if any installment is playing on TV, we'll all wind up in the same room. It's probably Jurassic, Final Destination, the Scream movies.
I love how much we're getting to learn about Perry's home life.
It's been
We
illuminating.
really, I grew up in a house that just loved entertainment.
I love that.
Yeah, as do I. I'm very thankful for that. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. So what are you guys, I forgot what the question was.
Die
What
Hard.
are you guys asking?
Die Hard is the movie that I would gather the family around after an intense.
I don't think I would just go off and watch whatever weird thing I needed to watch.
Whatever you got to do.
Yeah, whatever.
You got to do to be thankful for whatever you want to be thankful for on Thanksgiving. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this Friday edition of Collider Movie Talk. Thank you guys so much for being here. Drew, Jeff, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Adam in the booth, Dorian in the live chat. You guys rock. Thank you so much for your help as always. Now, leave this video, but don't leave it without liking and sharing it. But there's only one place you're supposed to go after you leave Collider Movie Talk. It's Collider Live. Enjoy that show. Have a great weekend, everyone. We will see you Monday morning with a brand new episode.